8:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Sounditavam. The national flag at half-mast in Sri Lanka to honour late Pope Benedict XVI. Sri Lanka to collaborate with India to increase local milk production. The SLBC says the local government election will not be postponed under any circumstances. The UNP points out that it is important to solve the economic problems of the general public rather than the election. Bus fares for passengers on expressways will be slashed by 10% with effect from midnight today. Litro Gas Lanka Limited has decided to reduce the prices of domestic LP gas from tomorrow. The Energy Minister discusses renewable energy with the UNDP official Vignaraja. The 2023 local government election, postal voting applications accepted from tomorrow. In foreign news, Canada immigration hits record high in 2022. And in sports, Shakil's maiden ton drives Pakistan, but New Zealand make late advances in tussle for lead. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has given directives to fly the national flag at half-mast tomorrow at state institutions as a mark of respect to the late Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. Accordingly, the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration has been asked to instruct all state institutions in this regard. The former Pope Benedict XVI passed away at the age of 95 on December 31, 2022, at the Meta Ecclesiae Monastery in the Vatican City, where he spent his final years after he stood down due to ailing health. Following his demise, the body of the late Pope was moved to St. Peter's Basilica on Monday and is now lying in state there as people in large numbers throng to bid farewell. The funeral, led by Pope Francis, is scheduled to take place tomorrow morning at St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City. Benedict led the Catholic Church for less than 8 years until in 2013 he became the first Pope to resign since Gregory XII in 1415. The Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle, met with President Ranil Wickremesinghe this afternoon and discussed Sri Lanka's milk production and potential collaborations with India in this regard. The discussion focused on raising national milk production and providing necessary technical support to the production of liquid milk in Sri Lanka, together with the National Dairy Development Board, NDDB of India and Amul Milk Company. Accordingly, the aim is to enable Sri Lanka to become self-sufficient in milk and milk products in the long term, while also providing short and medium-term goals to double local milk production. A committee consisting of representatives of the public and private sectors was appointed by President Wickremesinghe to work with the NDDB's multidisciplinary team to prepare a short, medium and long-term plan for the development of the dairy sector in the country. The Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Wijesekara discussed the future of renewable energy in Sri Lanka with the United Nations Assistant Secretary General, United Nations Development Programme UNDP Assistant Administrator and Director of the UNDP Regional Bureau for Asia and the Pacific, Karni Vignaraja, during a meeting the two had yesterday. Accordingly, integration plans pertaining to renewable energy, challenges anticipated and the financial and technical assistance required in this regard were discussed between the pair, Wijesekara stated. Taking to Twitter, the minister also noted that the concept of e-mobility and the ongoing structuring of both the Ceylon Electricity Board and the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation were also discussed with the visiting delegation. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Minister of Transport and Highways, Bandula Gunawardena, says bus fares for passengers on expressways will be slashed by 10% with effect from midnight today. The expressway bus fare revision comes a day after the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Lanka IOC reduced the price of auto diesel by 15 rupees per litre. Following the price cut, a litre of auto diesel is now priced at 405 rupees. Litro Gas Lanka Limited has decided to reduce the prices of domestic LP gas from tomorrow. The chairperson of the company, Mr. Mudita Piri, stated that the price of a domestic LP gas cylinder weighing 12.5 kilograms is expected to be slashed by an amount ranging between 200 rupees and 300 rupees. Accordingly, the exact figures will be announced tomorrow. The Election Commission of Sri Lanka says that applications of postal voting at the 2023 local government elections will be accepted from eligible voters from January 5th to midnight on January 23rd, 2023. Earlier today, the election body announced that nominations for the local government polls would be accepted from January 18th to 12 noon on January 21st. Meanwhile, the accepting of election deposits of the candidates will begin on January 4th and continue until 12 noon on January 20th, except on Poe Day, which falls on January 6th, and Sundays on January 8th and 15th, according to a press release by the Election Commission. However, out of the 341 local government bodies, nominations are not called from the Alpitiya Pradeshiya Sabha, as its 5-year tenure is yet to expire. The process of providing title deeds to the recipients of the new housing complex built in Colombo and Kolanawa expedited. This project is implemented under the instruction of Minister Prasanna Ranatunga. All recipients who have fully paid their installments will be provided with the respective title deed of the housing unit before the end of this year. 14,607 recipients will receive their deeds for their housing units built under 24 housing projects by the government in many divisional secretariat areas. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The UNP points out that it is important to solve the economic problems of the general public rather than the election. UNP former Central Province member Shantakongage said the politicians should think about the country at least for the next 11 months and take decisions. They should think pragmatically and focus on the daily needs of the general public, Mrs. Shantakongage added. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana parliamentarian S.M. Chandrasena said the local government election will not be postponed under any circumstances. The MP made these comments at a media conference held at the SLBC headquarters at Battaramulla today and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
On to Watchlight, the Ministry of Wildlife and Forest Resources Conservation has decided to initiate a program to facilitate foreign tourists visiting the national parks in Sri Lanka, including the Yala National Park, by making dollar payments available for the entrance fee. The Minister of Agriculture, Wildlife and Forest Resources Conservation, Mahinda Amaravira, directed the ministerial officials to take necessary measures in this regard in a bid to generate the dollars required by the country. Accordingly, this program is expected to kick off within the next 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the Department of Wildlife Conservation revealed that it has managed to earn a substantial income between December 23, 2022 and January 2, 2023, with tourists in large numbers visiting the Yala National Park during this period, and came to you in Watchlight. Making world news headlines tonight, Canada immigration hits record high in 2022. Tesla plunges 250 feet off a California cliff. All 4 occupants survive. And the Anglican Church and the United Kingdom have condemned the attack on a historic cemetery in Jerusalem. Canada admitted a record number of immigrants in 2022 as the federal government works towards a goal of admitting 500,000 newcomers each year by 2025. There were 431,645 new permanent residents last year, according to Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, topping a high record in 2021 of 405,000. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government is trying to catch up from a slowdown in immigration in the first year of the pandemic and admit nearly 1.5 million new permanent residents over the next 3 years. The government aims to accept a minimum of 500,000 immigrants by 2025 to help spur economic growth. The Anglican Church and the United Kingdom have expressed dismay at an attack on a historic cemetery close to Jerusalem's walled Old City. More than 30 graves at the Protestant cemetery on Mount Zion were desecrated on Sunday. Crosses were broken and headstones toppled and smashed. Jewish extremists have been blamed for the vandalism. Anglican Archbishop Hosam Nahum said, "Court, we have noticed that hatred speech and hatred crimes are on the rise." Unquote. 2 adults and 2 children somehow escaped serious injuries after their Tesla plunged off a cliff along California's Pacific Coast Highway and crashed on a rocky beach some 200 feet below. The incident occurred Monday morning at an area called Devil's Slide, some 20 miles south of San Francisco. Court, we were very shocked, unquote, to discover that people in the car had survived the crash, said Brian Pottinger, battalion chief with Cal Fire's Coast Side Fire Protection District. Accidents on that cliff are not rare. We do respond to a lot of vehicles on that cliff, he told CNN. Court, what's rare is that we do not get a lot of survivors. Surviving this type of accident is very rare, unquote. And back to the headlines of the world news. Canada immigration hits record high in 2022. Tesla plunges 250 feet off a California cliff. All 4 occupants survive. And the Anglican Church and the United Kingdom have condemned the attack on a historic cemetery in Jerusalem. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
The Traffic Police Division of Sri Lanka Police has been provided with a novel unit of equipment in an attempt to minimize the occurrence of road accidents in the country. Accordingly, it is reported that the device is able to accurately identify those driving under the influence of alcohol. Sri Lanka saw a grave increase in road accidents last year, most of which were caused due to drunken driving. Thus, this new device was introduced so as to potentially reduce the risks of accidents caused by such factors, and came to you in development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
It's cricket. Tom Latham shelled 2 catchers at the second test in Karachi saw an otherwise tame third day's play end, with New Zealand bagging a flurry of wickets. Pakistan lost 4 wickets for 12 runs in a lower order collapse in fading light, but Saud Shakil was still undefeated on a solid 124 from 336 deliveries, his maiden test century. Eventually the day ended with New Zealand 42 ahead, with Pakistan having only 1 wicket remaining on a flat Karachi surface that is yet to see any sort of deterioration. The hosts too have been happy to bide time and test the bowlers' patience. They added only 70 runs in 31 overs in the final session, 34 of which came in the last 10 overs of the day. Scores: New Zealand batted first and made 449 in their first innings. In reply, Pakistan were 407 for 9 at the end of the third day's play today. That's sports news. We look at business news next.
Let us turn this difficult time that we are facing now to a positive opportunity. We must rise up as a nation in 2023. NSB will extend its fullest support for you to rise with confidence. NSB, the safest place for you.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
HNB Assurance PLC, HNBA, and HNB General Insurance Limited, HNBGI, heralded in the new year with a great degree of enthusiasm and positivity. And in terms of top line, the HNB Assurance Group was able to reach a gross written premium GWP of 15.7 billion rupees. It needs special mention that whilst the group took around 18 years to reach 10 billion, it took only 2 years to grow from 10 to 15 billion, auguring well for the strategies that have been put in place for this aggressive growth that is being witnessed. Apart from this, both HNBA and HNBGI were the recipients of a number of awards both locally and internationally. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank.
Let us turn this difficult time that we are facing now to a positive opportunity. We must rise up as a nation in 2023. NSB will extend its fullest support for you to rise with confidence. NSB, the safest place for you.
Economic news, courtesy of
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking.
With the objective of enhancing the passenger experience at the arrival duty-free at the Bandaranaike International Airport BIA, all duty-free electronic shops were relocated at the second floor of the arrival terminal building. The Airport Aviation AASL invested 225 million rupees approximately for the relocation, and a total floor area of 1,900 square meters was added. The scope of work consisted of the construction of new electronic mall at the second floor of the new passenger terminal building, shifting of 31 arrival duty-free shops from the first floor to the second floor, the installation of 2 escalators, 2 glass elevators, the construction of structural steel staircase, the extension of 3 existing elevators, and the construction of 4 washroom blocks. And that's economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking. LOLC Finance will continue to innovate with the next generation digitalization of financial services, delivering a superior customer experience.
Weather report.
The Met Department says a change in the prevailing dry weather condition is expected from tomorrow onwards. Showers and thundershowers will occur at times in the eastern and Uva provinces and in the Polonnaruwa and Matale districts. Fairly heavy showers, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places in these areas. Several spells of showers will occur in the northern province. Showers and thundershowers will occur at a few places in the western, Sabragamo and northwestern provinces, and in the Gaul, Matara, Kandy, Nuwara and Anuradhapura districts during the afternoon or night. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. This weather report was published at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the International Weather Forecast website AccuWeather.com reports that today's weather was cloudy. Today's daytime temperature was observed to be around 28 degrees Celsius. Tonight's temperature will be around 26 degrees Celsius, and there will be scattered showers in selected spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be 29 degrees Celsius at the time of this news broadcast. The air quality index AQI is 32. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. However, sensitive groups may experience minor to moderate symptoms from long-term exposure. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The national flag at half-mast in Sri Lanka to honour late Pope Benedict XVI. Sri Lanka to collaborate with India to increase the local milk production. The SLBC says the local government election will not be postponed under any circumstances. The UNP points out that it is important to solve the economic problems of the general public rather than the election. Bus fares for passengers on expressways will be slashed by 10% with effect from midnight today. Litro Gas Lanka Limited has decided to reduce the prices of domestic LP gas from tomorrow. The Energy Minister discusses renewable energy with the UNDP official Vignaraja. 2023 local election. Postal voting applications accepted from tomorrow. Canada immigration hits record high in 2022. And Shakil's maiden ton drives Pakistan, but New Zealand make late advances in tussle for lead. With that, we conclude tonight's news broadcast.